In a small village called Kuma, surrounded by rust-red hills and tall waving grasses, there stood a little clay hut with a roof made of old thatch. Inside lived a boy named Tomi, a small, thin 5-year-old with wide brown eyes that always seemed to search the sky for answers. Tomi had lost his parents when he was only 2. The villagers said his mother died after a long sickness, and his father was taken by a flood one dark night. So he was sent to live with his father's sister, Auntie Abena, who had no husband or children of her own. At first, the neighbors thought she was kind to take him in, but it did not take long before whispers began to spread like harmattan dust. "Poor boy, Abena treats him worse than a goat," said one woman at the stream. "She makes him fetch firewood and water before sunrise," added another. Inside that small hut, Tomi did everything. He swept the floor, washed the clay pots, gathered firewood, and even cooked porridge when Abena felt too lazy to move. Sometimes she would eat it all and leave him with nothing but scraps. Still, Tomi never complained. When his stomach growled at night, he would curl up on his raffia mat, look through the cracked roof, and whisper, "Good night, Mama. I hope you can see me from the stars." Every morning before the cocks crowed, Abena's voice would slice through the dawn. "Tomi, get up, lazy boy. Go and fetch water from the stream before the sun burns your head." Tomi would rise quickly, rubbing his sleepy eyes. The air was cold, and the ground wet with dew. He tied the rope of a small gourd around his shoulder and began his long walk to the stream. The journey was almost half an hour, and his little legs ached each time. He passed the palm grove where birds sang softly, then crossed the narrow footbridge made of logs. Sometimes the wind would blow dust into his eyes, but he kept walking. He knew that if he delayed even a little, Abena would shout or throw a slipper at him when he returned. By the time he got home, sweat and dust clung to his small body, but instead of thanks, Abena only scolded. "You took too long. Can't you move faster? I feed you, and this is how you repay me." Her voice was harsh, but Tomi always bowed his head and whispered, "Sorry, Auntie." Although his aunt treated him harshly, not everyone in the village was cruel. There was old Nana Efwa, the woman who sold vegetables by the roadside. She often saw Tomi carrying heavy loads far too big for his small frame. Sometimes she would call out, "Tomi, come here, my child. Have some roasted plantain. Don't tell your auntie." He would smile shyly and eat slowly, his small face lighting up. "Thank you, Nana Efwa," he'd whisper. She would nod and sigh. "One day, child, the rain will wash your pain away." Tomi didn't understand what she meant, but he liked the sound of it. One late afternoon, the sky turned dark and heavy. The wind howled through the trees, and even the goats hurried under shelter. Abena had gone to the market to sell some cassava, leaving Tomi alone to sweep the yard and prepare firewood. Suddenly, lightning flashed across the sky, followed by a loud clap of thunder that shook the hut. Tomi jumped, frightened. Rain began to pour, thick, heavy drops that beat against the roof like drumsticks. The thatch started to leak. Water dripped into the cooking pot, and mud splashed through the doorway. Tomi quickly ran to move the baskets, covering the food with an old cloth. Then he saw something worse. The tall mango tree outside swayed dangerously in the wind. A moment later, lightning struck it with a deafening crack. Half the tree fell, blocking the path to the hut. Just then, through the sound of rain, Tomi heard a cry for help. "Ah! My leg! Somebody help me!" It was Auntie Abena. Without thinking, Tomi rushed outside. The rain drenched his small body instantly. Mud clung to his feet, and the wind pushed against him, but he kept moving toward the voice. He found his aunt sitting on the muddy road. Her market basket had fallen. Cassava and tomatoes lay scattered in the water. She held her ankle, grimacing in pain. "Tomi," she cried, "my leg! I slipped! I can't walk! He ran to her side. "Don't worry, Auntie. I'll help you." Abena stared at him, shocked. This was the same boy she had shouted at that very morning, and yet here he was, tiny arms trying to lift her heavy body. Slowly, painfully, he helped her stand and supported her back toward the hut. When they reached home, Tomi fetched a small stool and helped her sit. Then, he tore a strip from his old shirt, dipped it in warm water, and gently cleaned the mud from her ankle. He lit the fire and cooked some porridge, even though there was little maize left. When he handed her the bowl, his hands were trembling from cold, but his voice was calm. "Here, Auntie. You'll feel better after eating." Abena stared at the small boy sitting beside her. His wet hair stuck to his forehead, his clothes were muddy, and his eyes were full of concern. Something broke inside her heart, something she had kept locked away for years. "Tomi," she said softly, her voice shaking, "why did you come for me in the rain? After all I've done to you?" He looked at her with wide eyes and said simply, "Because you're my family. Mama said we must always help family, even if they don't love us back." Those words sank deep into her heart, like seeds into wet soil. That night, as the rain continued to fall, Abena could not sleep. She thought about all the times she had shouted at him, beaten him, and left him hungry. Tears rolled down her cheeks for the first time in many years. By morning, the storm had passed. Sunlight spilled through the cracks of the roof, and the world smelled fresh and new. Abena called softly, "Tomi." He turned, shy as always. "From today," she said, "you are my son. No more shouting, no more hunger. You will go to school. You deserve a good life." Tomi blinked, unsure if he'd heard right, but when she smiled, a real smile, warm and gentle, he ran into her arms, and she hugged him tight. From that day, everything changed. Abena treated him kindly, fed him first, and even took him to the village school. The neighbors were surprised, whispering, "What happened to Abena? She's not the same woman anymore." Old Nana Efwa just smiled and said, "The rain washed her heart clean." And every evening when clouds gathered in the sky, Tomi would look up and grin. He was no longer afraid of the rain. It was the rain that brought love back into his home. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel.